Okay, perfect. Jazlyn Martin, I'm excited to speak with you today about your role as Jackie on Bel-Air, but also to talk about this Afro-Latina that's, really ready to take it over with dancing, music, and acting. Don't we call that a triple threat?
That's what they say.
That's what they say. Nice. Before we get into all this stuff, who is Jazlyn?
That's a big question.
Yeah, it's loaded, right? It could go any way.
It could. I feel like it's different every day. I
Who
don't know.
is
I think I'm figuring it out. I'm discovering myself more and more each day. I know I'm passionate. I know art speaks through me. I know I'm a lover. Um, I am an activist. I love reading. I love nature. And yeah, that's a little bit about me.
Nice, I love that. With all of these things, it sounds very sensual and soulful, right?
Mm.
So, as jazz, if you don't mind me saying jazz, if you like it to be, we
No,
can
you're good.
go perfect. Jazz as the artist, if you have to describe her to someone, right? Enough that someone can really understand you as an artist, why you do what you do, what would you say?
Mm. Um, why I do what I do? I feel like to heal, I feel like art a lot of the time heals people.
Mhm.
And we don't realize it until we see our story in front of us. And we're like, wow, that's me. And it went differently. So I feel like I do what I do to heal and to serve people and to not make it about me, but yeah, just help people grow.
Nice. When did you know that was something that you wanted to do with your art? Some people love it for the art of for the sake of storytelling. Some people love it for fame, and purpose is purpose. No, there's no judgment. If someone says, "I'm about this money," hey, you know what that is like? Hey, I'm Bane. I want to see myself. I tell people, if you like it, I love it. But when did
Yeah.
jazz go? For me, I know that there's this power that I can influence others in
Mhm.
the most positive way through acting, through singing, through dance, through this expression, because you're giving your all. When you're on
Yeah.
stage or on camera, you're giving your all. So when did you know that this was going to be the reason why you wanted to give your all to the world?
I'd probably say a couple years ago. I'm in school right now for psychology,
Mhm.
so I think just the need to heal and extend empathy has always been close to me. But I feel like, watching such difficult storytelling and difficult stories, it's like, wow, like people really live these lives. And I feel like cool if someone's purpose is fame or money, whatever, that's cool. But I feel like it's so much more rewarding when it's for other people.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think just extending that empathy and showing what survival looks like on each different human because it looks differently, but kind of uniting all of us in a way that we didn't think we would be.
Nice. I love that. Especially because you want these characters, these roles, these stories to be very empathetic, sympathetic. We want these emotional connections between. Does that mean that you're very specific on what comes across your desk, especially starting out so early? You
Mhm.
want to get up there because the more you do, the more credits you have, the more producers. It's like, oh, that's Jazz. I know she could be for that role, but there's a sensitive artist in here. Do you ever let that create boundaries for which you will take and which you won't do?
Um, Interestingly enough, I don't think there's a role I would say no to.
Mhm.
Um, if it's crossing my boundaries, as in like, I have to be naked or something, like that's just not something I would want to do. But I don't think there's a role where I can't extend empathy to, even if it's like a crazy person or like something that I think I would never do. I remind myself, everything in me is already in you, and everything in you is already in me.
Yeah.
So I think once I do get roles and I'm like, no, 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 that's not me. I can't do that. It 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 tells me how much I'm being judgmental. And
Yeah.
then it keeps me in check of like, you're not being empathetic to these people's stories.
Yeah. Nice. I love that. And for art, you can't be judgmental. It's you can't be objective. It's very subjective in the sense of
Yes.
understanding why this person is doing that. You have to,
Yes.
and being someone who relates in from an emotional level and spiritual, how do you take away even when you have to empathize. Like, you know, you think about your role with
Mm.
Jackie. Jackie is this person, you know, stuck in between the two. Like, she likes him, but she's doing stuff for her uncle because she knows it's a segue for her. So how do you like take back when you're like, Jackie is that girl I don't like. I really don't like this girl
Mm.
who's opportunistic. Like, you know, I know at the end of the day that she's doing it for her own favor.
You know, I think I do a pretty good job of keeping my thoughts away from Jackie. I think I just justify it. You
Mhm.
know, I try not to judge that part because if I judge it, then it's going to show up in the work.
Yeah.
Whereas I just justify why Jackie's doing what she's doing. Her uncle's her only sole protector, and she needs to survive. Yes, she can still like Will. Like both things can exist at the same time. But I don't judge. I don't judge her decisions. I don't judge what she does because she's a product of her environment and she's surviving. And I have no place to tell her how she's surviving is wrong.
Nice. I love that. I love how you said that. I have no place to tell someone how they're surviving because that is such a powerful statement because we judge so much. You know, we'll say this person, we wouldn't do that. And it's like life
You don't know.
you don't know and we
If
don't
you
know if we
were
were in their positions.
if we were in the same exact position, like my acting class is always like, you know, you're one step away from being a murderer. Like we are all murderers. It just takes that specific circumstance for you to do it.
Yeah. That's why we have Snapped in 24 on those shows.
So
Nice.
yeah.
I love that. So speaking of Bel-Air and Jackie, okay, so now you're in this show that's, you know, people are talking about. It's the reboot, but it's not just a reboot, it's a reboot that's with a twist. How was it for you to when you saw these slides come again, like come to you in that inbox, and you're just like, this can't be real.
Yeah, it was my first audition with my agent, and I opened it and it said Afro-Latina, and I was like, okay. And then Street Smart from South Central, and I read the sides, and I just like I just saw a world. I just saw her world like coming together, and I was like, all right, this is gonna be fun to step into this new perspective.
Nice. What do you think it was that you did during the audition that landed you the role?
Hmm. I think what I did that landed me the role was I used my nervousness, but I used it in a good way. I know a lot of people are like, da da da. And I was like, okay, Jackie in the situation is nervous. She just manifests it in a different way. So I was like, how would Jackie use her nervousness? And so I feel like everything that I'm feeling as Jazlyn, anxious, nervous, like I'm not good enough, I can use all of that within the story as Jackie.
Mhm. Nice, and I think that is, I think that's something because you do see that same parallelism when this the last episode where she was like dancing. You know, it took her a minute to feel like she actually belonged there. Everyone else sees it, but she was just like, I know I got it, I know I'm here, but I don't really, you know, it's like how they say the
Yeah.
imposter syndrome or that inner saboteur. And so, speaking of all these things, what do you think is something that adds to the cast outside of being Afro-Latina, right? Like, what do you think she adds to the show's dynamic that if they took it out? Because I always feel it's like a pizza, you know, if
Right.
you're putting those toppings on, it makes sense. But if you put too many, it's like, and if you put too less, and you're like, oh man, I kind of wish I had more pepperoni. What do you think, you know, Jackie adds to the cast that if she wasn't there, you know, we wouldn't see?
Hmm, that's a good question.
I have
Uh,
my answer. Want me to say my answer first while you're thinking?
okay, yeah, let's hear it.
What I think is she reflects home for Will. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? She's the first person that she's that around the way girl where Will's like, I know her. That's why he likes it so much. You know what I mean? Because everybody else, it was like, okay, I can relate because we're black and I like you, you know, with like Lisa and stuff. But this one is like, oh, she reminds me of Philly. You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
don't, I feel like she can get me already.
Yes.
I think that's what
Well,
it is.
I think we have the same answer. I think Jackie definitely represents home for him. And I think it's comforting and similar to him and familiar, where it's like he doesn't need to explain himself. She already gets it.
Mhm.
I feel like throughout Bel-Air, he's constantly having to explain himself to whether it be Uncle Phil or Carlton or to just the world around him. Like, you guys don't understand me and where I come from. Whereas Jackie's like, let's sit down. Like, I already know what's going on. Let's just be.
Exactly. Okay, perfect. One last question because I want to get in also into the Afro-Latina part, your experience representation, right? When it comes to Bel-Air, why do you feel that this reboot was necessary and that people actually gravitate towards it? Because we can feel something's necessary, and then people say, "I don't want it." Like, I got it. Y'all thought this was what we needed, but no. Okay, thank you
Y'all
though.
ate with this, you thought.
like,
um, I mean, I feel like the original will forever be iconic and beautiful and funny, but I feel like, it didn't touch on the deep topics that we are touching on now, especially generational trauma within the Black family and what that looks like and surviving and, social justice. I feel like this show, dedicates more to our generation, but it also expands on these deep, big meanings that we didn't get to see in the original.
No, definitely. I love that. Talk about meanings, and let's get on to Afro-Latinx representation in film because our media in general, when it comes to the role, like you got with Jackie, right? It says Afro-Latin, right? But it's like because of your look, it's like, okay, we got that. But I don't think there's really those connotations where if we really want you know what I mean? And from that perspective, why do you feel, and you've seen in so much media, do you feel like they know how to really position and write for she's like at all? No, I'll stop you right there. They don't. They treat you all like Zoe Zeldana and Rosario Dawson, but then they make
It's no, it's a complicated question because I feel like every time you see Latino people, it's white passing or it's, Spanish looking people. And they don't recognize Afro Latino people as Latino people. They're like, they're Black, which is true. Yes, they are Black, but they act like people can't be both.
yeah.
It's like, no, you can't be Black and Latino. You have to choose.
Like, where are you gonna go? You sit here
And
like
yeah. And it's funny because it's like the Black community has always been super welcoming, at least in my experience, to Afro Latinos because maybe I look more like them or I relate to them more or I go through more of the Black experience. The Black community has always been super welcoming, way more than the Latino community. So I feel like they'll either cast Afro Latinos just as Black, which is fine because they are Black, but Latino people always just go to white passing people. And so they're like, all right, well, we're just going to write you Afro Latino people as Black people only because we don't know what box to put you in because you're creating a whole new box.
yeah. No, and I think that's true because when they're writing, I'm not a writer, but when they're writing, right? I'm from Los Angeles, I grew up around everything from Venezuelan, Panamanian, Belizean. So it's like if you're gonna write intentionally for a character like Jackie, we need some of that Afro-Latinx type of thing going on. Are we gonna put some do we hear her even use a word like talk about a dish or something? You know what I mean? Do we hear her talk about arroz con pollo or tostones? Like, do we even get any of those flair besides the size that says she's Afro Latinx? And you're like, okay, so you just made me be this Black girl that y'all just said because I'm from South LA. you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so with that, what do you hope to see with Hollywood, especially because every time we get between what is it, August 15th and September, when it comes to Latin Heritage Month, and then we try to really make sure we do this Afro Latinx, what do you want Hollywood to really do when it's like, hey, if you're going to write a film, put us in there or try to tell our stories? I think we need to be in the writing room.
Yes. I literally was going to say that. I think it's really hard for people to write experiences of someone else's if they've never been through that experience. Like we need to be in the room, we need to be in the developing, like we need to be in every room to make it authentic and also to make it just our stories. Cause then it's just your perspective of our stories,
Yeah.
which can be really harmful. You know, like representation is key, but I think positive representation is so much more important because, you know, there's a bunch of Black representation, but it's gangsters and you know, like the stereotypical stuff that, you
Yeah.
know, we are casted as. But I think positive representation, seeing Black people shine, is beautiful.
Yeah, no, and I love that, and I think it's one of those things because then when they do go to Afro Latin route and representation, then they make it be kind of always this around a white girl with the hoops, with the attitude. You know what I mean? It's always that thing. It doesn't matter if the girl is from LA or New York. They always put them in the. It's always this one box. You know what I mean? It's like so. It's like you really just kind of like a Latin girl that you feel. So it's like you're really talking about both cultures and race and ethnicities in a way where it's like that's how you see us. That's I
Yeah.
couldn't be a doctor, I couldn't be a lawyer, but that's how you
Yeah.
see it.
And then you have a bunch of Afro-Latino people who look at that representation, they're like, but I don't fit that. So then where do I fit now?
Nice.
So
No, I love that. So thank you for that part on representation. I always love to talk about that. We actually do a special issue between August and September on Afro-Latinx, and so we'll be coming back to you talking about that as well too. So that's one of our things. So it's really cool. Last year we did a thing on, what was it, 2 years ago, where we did a research on why surveying Latinos and like especially when you're trying to put them in a box of Afro-Latinx, it becomes a big issue. So because of like, that's the intersectionality of race and ethnicity. And that's a whole thing. But yeah, so it's going to be great. So we're coming back to you on that one as well.
you should do that again. A lot of them put white. I'll just tell you that.
Exactly. No, and it's so funny. We'll do it again because especially we did it with the Pew Research Institute, and the reason why they said they put white is because of the white passing and the connotations from colonialism in South America.
Yes,
Africa.
you get it.
Exactly. Because it just sounds better. But they were saying I'm looking at you and I'm like, you check white, but
You're brown.
exactly.
Yeah.
You as a dancer and singer, before we go, I have a couple minutes left. When describe yourself as a singer and dancer for me. What does that look like for jazz?
Hmm. Well, dance was my first love. My parents always joke I could dance before I could walk.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so they put me in dance very, very young, and my dad's a singer, so I kind of, because of dance music was always there, and I just started singing, and I feel like dance for me is like when I don't have the words, when I don't want to talk about it, when I don't want to face it head on. I feel like dance is like, let me express it through my body. Let me show you there's other ways, to do that. And I feel like singing is when I want to pour it out.
Yeah.
Like it's such an outpour, and they're both so different
Mhm.
but so beautiful. I don't know. Their art is just kind of crazy.
Oh, definitely. Both of those, were you classically trained in any, or is a lot of it self-taught?
Yes, so I was trained in both of them. I've had a vocal teacher since, oh, um, maybe like 11. No, even younger, like 8. And then I went to a bunch of dance schools, middle school, high schools, and got trained there. And then I would go to, summer intensives for dance. So I was trained in both of them.
Nice. And last question, when it comes to singing and dance, we talk about representation and also you to be showing up unapologetically, Afro-Latina, right? You're showing up Black, you're showing up Latin, you're bringing all those things. And so that means maybe you want to freestyle, maybe you want to bring a different part to it. Have you experienced where you're like learning all this stuff and you're in a room of people that don't look like you and you're like, man, I want to take these rules that I'm learning, but I want to break them because I just feel like there's some flavor that we need to be putting on this. Because I mean, thank you. I get the Pele and all the things that point toes, but I just think we got to do something else, y'all.
Yes, I think specifically in ballet class, especially with the pink tights
Yeah,
and the pink ballet shoes, that indicates it's for white people.
yeah,
Um, so, and ballet has always been a white art form. So definitely in ballet class, I've always felt like brown people don't belong.
mhm,
Um, because of, Black people have bad feet. or you know, just the bun, right? The bun has to be super slicked, and like that means a lot of gel and hairspray for
Now you're trying to
us.
lose your edges. Look, I'm trying to lose my edges trying to get this bud right for y'all. Look.
They're like, no edges, put it all the way back. You want what do
No
you mean no
extension
edges?
here.
Yes. So I mean, luckily I had great ballet teachers who saw the potential in me and made me fall in love with ballet. But I always did see that kind of separation of how far I will go versus how far a white person will go in ballet.
Nice. Any other forms of dance, or even when you're learning music, did you ever feel like that it's not that, not that it's not conducive or that it's not welcoming intentionally, but just because throughout the years they've made it very, Eurocentric. And so they put Eurocentric properties to it. Any other art forms that are of dance or of singing that you're just like, I could see why some people probably stay away from it. Brown, black and brown.
I mean, I would say opera for
Opera.
sure. Musical theater. I'm a sucker for musical theater, but I'd say musical theater as well. But I feel like everything else is rooted in Black culture. You know,
Yeah.
every other dance form, jazz, modern, African, hip hop, like you can't deny the African and Black roots in it, especially like R&B, soul, gospel, jazz. Like it's
Yeah.
literally there. So I feel like if people are denying it, it's just they don't want to acknowledge it.
Nice. I love that. Okay, perfect. I like to do a little rapid fire before we go for everybody to get a little bit more about jazz. Okay. You ready? Okay. Don't think of rapid fire, rapid fire. Okay, perfect. Ready? Your favorite R&B singer?
Her.
Her? Okay. Favorite rapper?
Kendrick Lamar.
Favorite movie within the past like 5 years?
Uh, what is it? Capernaum.
Capernaum? Okay, perfect. Favorite TV show currently?
The Boys.
Boys? Okay. Favorite place to eat in LA?
Pura Vida.
Favorite place to go outdoors?
On a hike.
On a
Just
hike?
trees, a bunch of them.
Nice. Last one. What's one of your all-time favorite albums that you can play like like it's the first time you ever heard it?
Daniel Caesar. How do you say it? Furidan.
Well, perfect. Perfect. Thank you. That's all the questions I've had today. I've had a great time speaking with you. I always hope the other person has as well too.
No, I had a great time. You're great. Thank you so much.
Thank you